Hey guys, what's up? It's Brianna Bingen. I wanted to come to you and I want to talk to you guys about mentally rehearsing the greatest version of yourself, right? So I'm gonna wait for you guys to come on in. Thank you guys for watching the replay. Thank you guys so much for who's been sharing my videos. I appreciate it. That's lots of love. So I want to talk about mentally rehearsing your greatness, right? And that is so important, you guys, because as an NLP practitioner, we spend a lot of time not only talking about mindset, but showing people how to rehearse for their greatness. Because guess what, you guys? Your mind can't tell the difference between what is imaginary or actually what happened. And I can prove to you, like, can you tell the difference between what you did mentally in your mind between what you did today? Like, it's really hard to tell that difference. Like, you know, how do you know if you did something today or you did it yesterday? Because a lot of times we do some of the things that are so repetitive. That's why we could leave our house and like, dang, did I lock the door? Because you do it so many times a day that you kind of forget and lose track of, did it happen or when did it happen? But ultimately, whatever we're mentally rehearsing in our mind, we're always mentally rehearsing something, because scientists know we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And with those thoughts, they know that 90% of those thoughts are identical to what we thought the day before. So when you think about that, understanding that your thoughts are identical, we understand that not only are our thoughts repetitive and identical to what we thought the day before, especially if you're 35 years old. By the time you turn 35, the way you think and the pattern of thoughts become finite. So it's very important that we really get under the hood of what we're thinking and what we're rehearsing mentally, because ultimately that's what we're going to produce in our life. And how we produce what we mentally rehearse is because we think, act, and feel the same way every day, right? Every day you go to the same job. So do you feel different about that every day? No, for the most part. When you wake up, you feel the same way about that job, right? And for the most part, you know, depending on, you know, how your relationship is with people you come home with, you feel the same way about them, right? So a lot of our thoughts and a lot of our actions are so repetitive, so redundant that guess what? Our body knows more than our mind. And isn't that a trip, right? Because ultimately you need to make sure that your mind, body, and soul is one. But a lot of times, because we're so busy doing day-to-day life, going here, going there, and not really switching our mindset up, not really expanding your mind, because ultimately, you guys, when you're expanding your mind, it's painful. It should be so painful. It should be painful like when your mom was like, you know, apologize to your brother and sister, and you like, I don't want to. That's how it should feel if you're stretching your mind every day. Because ultimately, if your mind is just thinking the same thoughts and you're going to the same places and everything is familiar, how much room are you leaving for expansion? Not that much. So it's very, very important to, like I said, get under the hood of what you're mentally rehearsing. Because guess what? I brought this little box right here, right? Hope you guys can see. I wonder why like my bottom half is cut off. But I brought this little box right here to describe like how do we store our memories, right? So if this was a box and this is like your box that you stored like how you want to be in this world, like who do you see yourself as being? And inside that box, depend on what you have stored inside this particular box. Depend on what you have stored is the feelings that you're going to act on. You're going to act on those feelings. So if you have in this box, when you think about who you're going to be, when you have in this box like, oh, I'm going to be amazing and I'm going to be brilliant and okay, you know, I can get over anything, then when you need to access that type of feeling, when you need to access those thoughts, those are going to be empowering thoughts that's going to help you go positive places. But if you are accessing negative thoughts like, oh, that's too hard, or the thought is, you know, everybody's always against me, and if you start accessing memories and things like that are negative, my phone's ringing. That's what you would get out of that. That's the kind of feelings that you would produce in life. And whatever you think is how you feel, and how you feel is how you respond. Because ultimately, we don't respond, we don't do anything unless we run it by how we feel, right? If somebody asks you to do something, you're like, wait a minute, let me see how I feel about it first, right? Don't just come to me asking me questions, right? So it's the same thing about your brain, but you guys have to make sure that you don't let your body take over what your mind knows best, because ultimately, it's the habit. It's kind of like if you go to dial your cell phone, right? And you're like, I can't think of that girl's number. But then all of a sudden you start pushing around the keypad, because guess what? Your body has now known better than your fingers. That's why, women, we can do so many things in our sleep, because guess what? Our body is so conditioned to do certain things that it's like, that's a breeze. Like, move out of my way. Let me wash those dishes really quick, because it's not something that we have to really consciously think about. So whatever you're rehearsing in your mind, I promise you it's going to be directly related to how you feel. So if you're thinking about your goals, and what made me really think about this topic is because I want to make sure that when you're thinking about your goals, you're chunking them up, because your brain loves to think in possibility. If you guys are listening to any messages, you guys, of doom and gloom about how things aren't going to go well and the economy's bad and the world is ending, if you're hearing stuff like that, then guess what? When you try to go after your goals and dreams, that little file's going to come up, and it's going to say, you're not going after that goals and dream, because somewhere in your brain you just said the world is ending. Somewhere in your brain you just said that it's not really worth it. You're forfeiting, because what you've mentally rehearsed is possible is so limited. And I don't want you guys out there doing that. I don't want you limiting, you're limiting what you can have and what you can do in this world behind beliefs that no longer serve you. So, I know sometimes we have negative memories, and those negative memories that we have, when we store those, we're not storing the whole memory in context. Like, say if I have a bad memory of a bad past relationship, right? And even though now looking back at it, I'm like, okay, I should be over that relationship and I feel better. But if I look back at that relationship, if that memory is stored crazy where like I feel bad, all I see is the bad memories, because your memory only stores the part that you need. So if you want to hold on to the part that somebody did you wrong, your memory will gladly store all those negative thoughts there. It'll store it. And I don't want you guys storing those negative thoughts in your brain. But guess what? The negative thoughts that you stored are just language. Like, he hurt me. They did something wrong. And when you know that it's just language that's holding you back, all you have to do is figure out what language can change it. That's why, when you have bad problems and you start talking to your friends, and your friends like, oh, I can't believe you're tripping, you start laughing back and forth. When you do that, it's because guess what? Now you're adding more details to what you thought was so miserable and so hopeless, but now you're adding some more details you can focus on. But the problem is, if you're focusing on negative details and you're not adding positive details in there, if you're not, expanding your mind and making your brain think in new and more possible ways, then you'll start to develop a habit where your body knows better than your mind than to think these negative thoughts, right? I don't want you guys thinking those negative thoughts, because negative thoughts are habitual. And I think I've spent the last 7 years really trying to train my mind to think with positive thoughts versus thinking negative thoughts. And it's a journey, and it's a journey just really getting under the hood of like, why do I feel that way? And if you don't know why you react the way you react, and you don't know why you do what you do, it's going to be really hard to slip in there, alternate idea or alternate suggestion, because the way you think has become so patternistic, so hardwired, right? And the way that you create room for it is that you kind of listen. You listen inside internally to what's going on, what you're saying to yourself. And when you listen to what you're saying to yourself, you'll realize like, man, my brain is constantly, moving. It's constantly saying things that I really don't agree with. So once you interrupt it, you guys, I promise you, it's going to be an uncomfortable vibration. You're going to be like, oh, somebody's making me apologize. But you need those uncomfortable vibrations, you guys, because that's how you forge new connections. You're making your brain think up. And when you make your brain think up, your brain loves it. Your brain loves to chunk things up versus chunking things down. I think sometimes us as entrepreneurs, when we think about what we have to do to get ahead, if we're chunking down, it looks like this. Like, oh my God, I want to do it. I want to get ahead, but I have to do this, this, and that just to even do that. So it's not even worth it. Or, chunking down my, I have to do that, but then I have to go over here, then I got to pick the kids up, and those are chunking down. Like, your brain can't find any possibility. It just keeps going worse and worse. Oh, dang, you got to pick up the kids, and you need gas, then you don't have money. It's just all these like negatives. But if your brain starts thinking like, okay, I can get some money, and then I can get gas, and then I'll pick the kids up, and then I'll run over here. Like, when you start to think like that, you forge new connections in your brain versus the same ones that are probably negative that we've inherited from our past, that are like, the world's ending. things are not going well. Oh, this world isn't changing. It's getting worse and worse. If you start thinking like that, then you become a part of the negative vibration in this world that doesn't try to get higher. It doesn't try to strive for anything higher, because ultimately what you think is how you feel. So if you think and feel that this world is ending and that all things are going bad, and you have all these, misconstrued files that aren't really true about who you are and what you can accomplish, then every time you try to go for your goals and dreams, you guys, that file is going to pop up. Because guess what? Your body knows more than your mind. So that's why I'm going to push you guys. Like, I know sometimes you're like, what is she talking about today? I'm talking about mindset all the time. I want to talk about making money because that's so important, right? I want to talk about all these different things, but I think it's my duty to teach you guys what I've learned about mindset and how simple it is, you guys. The problems that we're having, the bad memories that you guys have stored, there's like a vending machine technique to get rid of negative thinking. Literally, like, you have that bad memory, come here, let me see that file. Tell me what's in that file. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? Like, what is in that file? And when you find out what's in that file, then we could play with the modalities instead of letting your brain just store what it wants to store and store the pain and store the hurt. We don't want to store the pain and store the hurt. We want to put good things in there. And there's a way to do that, right? You just have to take time and dig deep and access that. And sometimes you might need help. I was up last night, I couldn't sleep, right? And I knew I needed to just quiet my mind and figure out what was going on. But for some reason, like, it was so uncomfortable because my brain, my body's like, no, Brianna, business as usual. Ignore it. Business as usual, right? And then I just was like, no, I need to calm myself down. I need to sit back and really see, like, what is going on internally with me? What is my mind? What is the higher part of my mind trying to bring forth? And if you think about it, when you're in that space, when you can imagine yourself and mentally rehearse yourself in the greatest, hold on, my daughter is like singing London. I can't hear. She is like singing away. I can't really hear my thoughts because I hear like, whatever. So I forgot where I left her because she just really threw me off. But I was just saying that, your thoughts that you're thinking, you want to make sure that, it's not your body running your mind. Because I promise you, if you're not used to really stopping and really listening to what your brain is saying, then your body is running your mind. Because ultimately, if you're used to thinking a certain pattern and someone comes in there and throws a wrench in what you're doing, you're going to not feel right about it, right? That's why when we go places and, we're on our way to do something and somebody's like, oh, I got to go pee. You're like, dang, because it throws a wrench into the system that you were already doing. And then when you are mentally rehearsing positive things and you do it for a while, that negative body program that your body craves is like, oh my gosh, it's like, go back to the same way go back to the same way So it's really, 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 really important. Like, I noticed that when I start to get uncomfortable in situations, I try to sit back and be more present. Like, even when I'm doing my Facebook Lives, like when I start to get super, super conscious, I just kind of sit back and be present because I don't know what type of program, what system. Like, my brain has recorded a lot of information. I'm 31 years old. So there's a whole lot of memories, a whole lot of beliefs that are, in box and files in my brain that, I'm accessing unconsciously because our brain is just so busy all the time that I want to make sure that I'm accessing the good memories, not the bad memories, not the ones that hold me back, not the ones that don't empower me, make me feel well, because ultimately I know that whatever I store up here, I will hold in my world. And that's the same thing for you. Whatever you store up here, you hold in your world. So make sure that whatever you're doing, you don't know how much time you have here. So make sure that you fill your mind up with positives of I can do it and I will do it. And there is a way, and there's not just one way to do it. There's a million ways to get to what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. So I just wanted to talk about that. If you guys have any questions about how we store memories, if you live in Los Angeles, I will be putting together a live NLP training class that we're going to go over how our brain thinks. We're going to go over communication And we're going to have a lot of breakthroughs. If you're a life coach especially, you might be interested in really understanding how we store our memories and how we can change our memories. Can you believe that, you guys? Has anybody told you? Where have you been? Do you know that we can change our memory? If you have a negative memory, you can change it. You can change it like that. You don't have to live life with that negative memory holding you back. There's a way, a higher technology that they've discovered on how breakthroughs happen. Like, how does someone have a breakthrough? What happens in their brain? And what kind of questions elicit a breakthrough? They've studied it already. So there's no reason why we should be far behind in anything, because guess what? They've already coded your breakthrough. Congratulations, you guys. They've already coded your breakthrough, right? So you don't have to sit there and suffer anymore. You just need to be around people who understand that, you know, what's going on up here is just a little twitch. But the only thing is, to create a new reality for yourself, you have to create a new personality, right? Because your personal reality is part of your personality, of how you think, feel, and act, right? So if you think, feel, and act happy all the time, you think, feel, and act good thoughts, then your personal reality will be good and happy in thoughts. But if you think in lack, and you think that people are out to get you, and you think all these negative things, and that's what you're going to get back in your life. So we have to really be careful what we're thinking and who we're listening to, because guess what? Once you realize how crazy your mind is and you know what you've been through, you're going to be like, I can't take nobody's advice. I can't take nobody's advice, especially when they tell me they're talking to a higher power. I'm like, I got to really think about what I'm hearing right now, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on in people's brain and they haven't even really slowed down. They're not even getting information that teaches them how to slow down their brain, how to figure out what they're thinking. So you have to get under the hood of how you think and why you do what you do and why you don't do what you don't do, right? You have to really understand that, because guess what? They've studied humans, they've studied communication so intently, you guys, that it's kind of like how you look at your child. You're like, you know, you can't get over on me, right? Sometimes you look at your kids and you're like, I can't believe this kid is really gonna lie to me in my face. And it's the same thing when you think about how how intently they've studied communication, the mind, and how much it's like you can't, you know, you may think that you're getting ahead, but you really can't. I'm trying to say this the best way I can say this without making it sound like the Matrix, this whole Matrix stuff. But I just want to say that, like, you know, you really have to understand how you think, and then understand how others think in a detailed way, that you can recognize patterns in the way people think. And that's one thing why I love trying to spread information that people aren't really hearing, because guess what? People are stuck in a thinking pattern and they can't get out of that thinking pattern. And they're around other people who are stuck in a thinking pattern that constantly encourage them to stay in that thinking pattern. Stay in that, because guess what? Outside of that thinking pattern, you're probably going to be by yourself. You're probably going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to be probably a lot of different things when you step out of that comfort zone. But guess what? When you do that, you do yourself a favor. You do yourself a favor that nobody around you is doing, is saving themselves and stepping out of that box and actually saying, like, how can I expand my mind? And when you expand your mind, you make new connections to go higher, versus using the mindset that you have currently just to go lower. You got to always think higher. So that's what I want to say. Hey, Kendra. Hey, Gusun. Hey, Melissa. I hope you guys enjoyed this today. You know, think positive, you guys. Force yourself to think positive. Get under the hood of your thinking, of your thoughts. And I hope to see some of you guys in my NLP training class in Los Angeles, so we can get under the hood of our thinking, have some breakthroughs, and really, really, really understand this life and this world that we have that is a gift. All right, you guys, have a great day. It was good to see you guys. Peace out.